She's funny, she's smart, she craves chocolate every day, and she is the Greek goddess of comedy. Here is your host, Ellen Karis.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Karis's Comedy Corner. My name is Ellen Karis, and this is the guest edition of Karis's Comedy Corner. I'm very excited, but before we get started, we always have to thank our sponsors. Our first sponsor is Baywalk Marketing. Go to their website, baywalk.net, for all your advertising and marketing needs. They can help you with any kind of a flyer, demographic. They're experts in the Greek community. Go to their website, hollywoodgreeks.com, for all your Greek entertainment needs, and HellenicFestivals.org to find out where there is a Greek festival near you. And 2021, there will be plenty of them. Our other sponsor is Select Flex. What is it? It's an orthotic. What's an orthotic? It's an insert. You put it in your shoe. Why? Because you need to, because everything starts with your feet and works its way up. It's good for your alignment, your back, your knees, your hips. I do not work out without these in my sneakers. I do not walk around New York City without these in my shoes. And what's really great is there's an adjustability in the arch where you can make the arch firm, extra firm, or extra firm, depending on what your needs are. Go to their website, selectflex.com, SELECTFLEX.com. There's a 30-second video to show you how it works. And for Karis Comedy Corner listeners, there's a discount of 25% if you type in the code FAMILY25, FAMILY 25, because I feel like you are my family, my listeners, except I get along with you a lot better than I do my real family. So go to their website, selectflex.com. All right, I just blew through those because we're going to do a little bit of a shorter version because our guest is on a time constraint. So I want to get him in. I just met him this weekend and I fell in love with him. He was the host of Dry Bar comedy special that I taped, that not just me, but they've been doing it for 8 years. And I was invited and I was blessed. If you heard my solo show that I did on Monday, I talked all about it. It was fantastic in Provo, Utah. You know how I feel about Utah. It is God's country. So they have a house host, and we did meet though in January of 2020. We'll get to all that. We'll get to his career and the big change that he's making. So please give it up for my guest, Ryan Erwin.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure. Thank you for saying yes. So we scheduled this, which was great. And what happened, it's been crazy. Like, I'm very disorganized. And then when I go away, I'm like extra disorganized. So I was away. And then I decided to meditate at 5:30 and I fell asleep. And that's why I was so harried. So excuse what I look like. And I put glasses on thinking that this is going to camouflage the fact that I have no makeup on, which is not. But anyway, be that as it may, I really enjoyed hanging out with you, your company. You were just a ray of sunshine, very funny, and a great host. So just so everybody knows, I went out to Provo, Utah. There is a comedy club called Dry Bar Comedy. Yes, it is a dry bar, yes. But who cares, right? I mean, the people come and they just want to have fun, especially after, this COVID-ness that we've gone through. And as the weeks have gone on, capacity has gone up. So I'm really happy that I came when I came, because I have a comedian friend of mine that came, I think he did it like last May, and it was like a crazy story. Like there was like a COVID alert, when he was to do his show. So I won't say who it is. I'll tell you off air. But hosting. I mean, no, he's a great comic, but it was crazy. So
yeah, no, the week before you came out, they upped capacity and they added about 25% more than what they had before. So
I felt that, believe me, I felt very blessed. Trust me, I did not take anything for granted. So you do a lot of the hosting there, but I want to tell everybody. So we did meet when I went out January 2020 to do a Greek show. I came down, which was on a Saturday night, but I came in early on a Friday, and I came down Friday night to Wise Guys, and you and I met, although you usually MC for them a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I usually about once a month I'm hosting one of the weekend shows out there, but I wasn't on the show, but a couple of my friends were, so I just went to go support, and we chit-chatted for like a minute, maybe. And then when you came into town at Dry Bar, I saw you and I was like, I have met this woman before. And I was like, I know you were, and like we talked for a little bit, and then finally you were like, oh, I was like, is this your first time? And you're like, no, it's my second time. I was like, okay. And then you mentioned that you worked the Michael Yo weekends. I was like, my friend Matt Fry was on that show. I remember where I met you from.
Yeah. So I mean, I love stories like that. I love when things like that happen. You know, the comedy world, as big as it might seem, is
It's so
really
small.
a lot smaller than you think.
Yeah.
I walked into Dry Bar. Actually, I probably knew about 75% of the people whose posters are on that wall. So I know that I've arrived somewhat. But I love your story. You grew up in Utah.
Yep. Lifelong, born and raised in a small town called Brigham City. And then
Where is that? Where is that?
About an hour north of Salt Lake.
Okay, great. And you know, I only came out to Utah, well, no, not all, but like 15 years ago or so, when I went skiing. And by the way, I learned how to ski as an adult, like way into adulthood. But and I tried. It was like East Coast skiing is horrible, and we came out west. I think the first trip I did Colorado. Then when I came to Utah, we went to Deer Valley, Park City, and that was it for me. I found my happy place. It was just so great. It was just so relaxing. And, you know, in some ways, Utah, I don't want to say this, I'm just, for lack of a better word, like gets a bad rap. You know, it's like, everybody's Mormon, you can't smile, nobody drinks coffee. You know, it's the PR is not good. I don't like it. Yeah. I don't like it because I've been there and it's a great place.
Yeah, no, I think we oftentimes get underestimated. And especially as a gay comic in Utah, there's definitely a stigma, but I only do clean, which throws people for a loop because I do corporate work and I've done Dry Bar. I filmed my special almost 2 years ago. But yeah, so it definitely, we get a knock where it's like, oh yeah, but like it's Utah. And I was like, we got some great stages. Like Wise Guys has 3 locations. We're expanding to Las Vegas. We have Dry Bar, like we got some stuff going.
Wait, and everybody has a sense of humor. So just because, you know, there's a sort of a little bit of an unwritten rule, like, hey, you know, kind of keep it to less raunch, which I don't know, I get hired for tons of things in New Jersey that are the same, with the same dictum. So I don't, again, it's kind of interesting. This kind of like pigeonhole that, and you know, everybody has 14 wives. Every man has 14 wives. You know, that's his own other thing. You know, the power of Bravo. But
Big Love, not totally accurate for most of Utah.
Exactly, but no quality. First of all, that Wise Guys. It was where, give us the exact location.
We were at the downtown Salt Lake location. That one seats about 375.
Beautiful. Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Then there's the Jordan Landing when it's out in the suburbs. That seats just about 300. And then we have a blue collar room, Ogden. It's about a half hour north of Salt Lake. That's my favorite room. It seats about 180, but it's got really low ceilings, exposed brick metal. It just gets loud. I've gotten into, I think, 6 or 7 festivals so far. Every time it's from a tape I filmed in Ogden. It's the best room to tape in, hands down. Nice. It's like a cellar room, and so it's just like loud and resonates, and it's a lot of fun.
Tell us about your journey. So, you know, you brought up in Utah. You know, you did your thing. You went to school. So you went to college.
I did. I actually went on a mission first. I went on a mission to Uruguay. I did a 2-year Mormon mission to South America. I went to Argentina and Uruguay. And then I graduated from college. I'm a teacher, but not for long, actually. I've got 2 more weeks and then I'm done. Today is my last show at my school. It's closing night of my last show as a drama teacher. So that's been a kind of bittersweet because it's like nice. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm done. And now it's like, oh, it's over. So I'm sure I'm going to be an emotional wreck later. But no, I'm leaving teaching. And then in about a month from now, I've got a few more shows here in Utah. And once those wrap up, I will be driving across the country to North Carolina. And I'm gonna stay with my sister for a week or 2 till I find my own place. And then just trying, I've saved up quite a bit of money. I'll probably get a part-time job just to keep my mind occupied. But then the plan is I'm within driving distance from DC and Nashville and Atlanta and all sorts of stuff in between. And I'll just do my best comedy stuff.
So, all right. So we got a million questions for you. Okay. So you went into teaching. What grade do you teach?
I have taught middle school drama for 9 years.
Wow. That's cool. That's, a lot of hormones starting to kick in. I have nieces and nephews, especially the nieces. Oh,
yeah.
So yeah, the girls can be tough.
It's a lot. It's enough is what 9 years is. It's enough at the middle school level.
Right. So, and then how was that? That's, what I think I didn't realize you were a drama teacher. I love that because a couple things. One is, there's a saying that in order to keep your kids out of trouble, you keep them busy. And we've had experiences with one of my nieces in my family where, and I won't make this long, but she, my sister had, she went to dance and gymnastic or whatever. And then at 12, she didn't want to do anything anymore at 13. And that's when the trouble started. I mean, now she's 16 and it's calmed down, but it was, and I remember saying she needs something to do. The arts, whether it's the arts, whatever it is, dance, music, well, that's all the arts, but sports is really what I meant to say. Sewing, whatever, but it's very important. But I really do feel, and I am somebody that did not grow up in the arts. I mean, other than living in New York City and going to see Broadway, I wasn't in a school play. None of that was encouraged in my house. Everybody is tone deaf and they have horrible voices. So we do not encourage singing at all. But I think if somebody were to say, how can we help the youth of today? I would say sign everybody up for a drama class. Some will drop out, but some will stay. Just whatever it is to express themselves.
Yeah, I think I have a lot of kids that don't sign up for my class, but are put in my classroom. Mm-hmm. And there was one girl, she came like the beginning of the school year, just like crying. She's like, I didn't take this class, but my mom won't let me transfer out. And I was like, well, you're gonna have to learn your lesson. And she did great in the class. And the next year she walked into my classroom and she's like, Mr. Erwin, I didn't take this class and I'm in it again and my mom won't change my schedule. And she grew so much. And the next year I was like, I'll make sure you're not in my class. And she's like, thank you. That's the greatest thing you've done for me. But I think forcing them to have an opportunity where they have to perform and create and be creative. A lot of kids go, I'm not a theater kid, I'm not whatever. And then even the kids who are resistant, I go, okay, here's your random prop and here's a random character. We're gonna make a quick story. You have 2 minutes and suddenly they're creative. And it's like, theater is just applied creativity. And everyone has the ability to be creative. I definitely feel like a lot of kids grow from it. In Utah, we're a particularly strange place for the arts. We are art-centric. Every middle school in my school district has a choir, band, orchestra, drama. Everyone has a dance. They have multiple visual arts teachers. The arts are a big deal here in Utah, even at the middle school level. And every elementary school is required to have at least multiple art teachers, whether they be dance or visual arts or something. So we have a community that supports the arts greatly. But there are still a lot of kids that I'm like, you would be better off if you took this class.
What about you? Did you study drama in college?
Yeah, so I did theater. I actually didn't take theater classes. I just did the musical every year. I was on student council and I didn't have enough electives. So I just did the musical for fun every year. And then my senior year, I was like, this actually is a lot of fun. And I went off to college. I got my bachelor's degree in general theater studies from Utah State. Graduated and then applied for teaching jobs because I knew this is what I wanted to do. But I was actually a theater education major and me and my advisor didn't get along. And so I changed my major going into my last semester so I'd graduate early. And then I stumbled upon this job that I've been at for 6 years that I wouldn't have been eligible for had I waited to graduate with a different degree. So everything happens for a reason. And so I'm a firm believer in that. And so it's been a great ride, but I'm over it. I'm so mentally drained.
Time for a new chapter. So
Yeah.
when did stand-up happen in your life?
3 years ago this July. So I'm still under 3 years. I filmed my dry bar special at 14 months. I don't know if I necessarily had earned my special, but the guy who books dry bar is the guy who books Wise Guys, and he's seen me do very well multiple times. I'd been put on some big weekends, like I opened up for Fortune Feimster a few weeks before I filmed my dry bar special, and I crushed it. And he's like, "Yeah, you're ready. Let's go." And I was like, "All right." And my special, I was very happy with it, but I like some of the jokes I like look back, I'm like, oh yeah, I've definitely advanced from that, which I think is a sign of great growth. But
I mean, but I'm in this like 20 years, and I still,
yeah,
and I'll look back at 2 years ago or 6
yeah,
months ago. I try. I'm like, oh, who wrote this joke?
yeah. Like some of them, I was like, oh, that was not good. But at the time, I was like, this is great.
Yeah, that's the challenge, obviously. I remember one time watching the Actors Studio, and Al Pacino was on, who, we can all agree is one of the greatest actors ever. And it was James Lipton. I loved that show. And you could probably do a good James Lipton impression, I would imagine. And
I'm not good at impressions.
Oh, really? I don't know.
Or accents.
I just saw that, but I guess, I don't know.
Okay, maybe I'll try it one time.
Maybe my antenna is a little. But anyway, and I remember they asked him if he used a coach or still used a coach. And basically what he said is, I'm always learning. I'm always a student. And that really like hit me, because I think I was, and I watched it, I was still taking a lot of acting classes. But, everybody's got their own pace. So what I loved about you, I mean, first of all, you were hilarious and you were a great host. So for people obviously that don't know you or can't see you, you are very tall. How tall are you exactly?
I'm 6'5".
6'5". Oh, I couldn't even guess that, because I am 2'2" is basically what I am. So you have a very big presence, but you're very warm. You're engaging. You're a great host, and I really feel like hosting is still the most underrated, underappreciated.
I love hosting.
Job in whether it's comedy or a variety show or whatever. It's so hard. I call it audience herding. You have to make it so that everybody feels, all these strangers, that they came together in one van. Like that's really what your job is. So, but you did a great, you were great at that. But you have a natural ability. You've got a friendliness about you. And 3 years is, very impressive. I mean, you have a good stage presence, and, you continue to write. And I would imagine you're going to be one of these people. I like to think of myself as this as well, as, my writing changes. So I never went into this so that I could do, have an act and then do it over again. I've seen this, by the way. Okay. I mean, I'm not saying it's the norm, but I've seen where, I see somebody 10 years later and they're still talking about being single. They're married like 25 years. Like, what's happening? But so, you'll continue. I can tell by your writing, you're probably always crafting, and
every week I write
as your life
minutes.
And now as your life is changing, but of course we want to ask you, and again, because of the PR around it. So you are gay, you live in Utah, was your family accepting? How was that? Was everybody cool? And it's just like us non-Utah people that think that it's, that it's not accepted, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's been a slow, I wouldn't say slow, I guess it's just been a while since it started coming out. Mixed reactions. Friends were all pretty good about it. Family, very mixed, lots of conversations. Some I have just gone, well, I don't think we're ever gonna see eye to eye. Let's just go our separate ways. But most, there's some level of understanding, but I mean, I've never been in a relationship yet. I've been out for about 8 years. So it's like hard to gauge if that's really a thing. Because I think that it ultimately would be different if I'm like, hello, everyone, here is my partner. I think that would change the dynamic of a lot of things. I would like to believe it's getting there. As far as like like culture living in Utah, Salt Lake is incredibly gay,
Mhm.
like so gay. I was reading a study somewhere where as just far as like the metro, like not just the metro area, but like the city limits based off of a census from whatever, Salt Lake was like the third gayest city in the country, just about how many people identify as LGBTQ. The problem is they all live in Salt Lake. No one lives in the suburbs. And so across the board, it doesn't look like a lot, but like we have a lesbian mayor, 2 of our 5 city councilors are gay. There's a huge pride center. There's like lots of events that happen. Like our soccer team has pride nights, like plural, because they know that like the LGBT community loves our soccer team, Real Salt Lake. So as far as like culturally, I don't feel super stigmatized. I don't feel super. It's when I go into like blue collar rooms, like where I do small town dive bars, where I'm like, hello, everybody. I know I'm not what you're used to seeing. Because I usually wear like, you saw me in my bright colored dinosaur shirt. I make a statement when I walk into a room. And so there is sometimes where I feel like that pushback initially, but I feel like most people are willing to at least hear me out. So I haven't really faced a lot of like homophobia. There have always been like, passive slights. And I did actually walk somebody during my taping of my dry bar special. I did one gay joke and she got out of there. But for the most part, I don't get a huge pushback from it. If anything, because it's Utah, I'm the celebrated token diversity because we don't have a lot of women who do comedy here and we don't have a lot of people of color who do comedy here. So it's like, well, we got this gay guy. So like it's all white and all male, but one gay. And so
You know what I like about you, and I get a vibe about you. It's this is who you are. This is
yeah.
your life. This is how you feel, and it's cool. And you're going to live your life. And I feel like that's the best attitude to have. I mean, look, we all have our own little struggles. Just because I'm a heterosexual woman doesn't mean that I don't come up to obstacles.
Yeah.
Especially as I get older, that's its own demographic.
Yeah.
You know what? And I don't give a shit. Like I don't give like I've earned it. I don't care. And I say this: there's 2 kinds of people in the world. To me, this is how I separate people: good people and assholes. That's it. I'm very cut and dry when it comes to stuff like I just really am. It's like I don't care what you think. You're not nobody. Don't hurt kids. Don't hurt old people. I mean, just be a good person. That's it. What does anybody care? And we've evolved a lot. Look, I come from a very traditional Greek home, so it's funny. Like I get all that. I mean, I understand that because it's about tradition or it's about the way people are used to, regardless of fill in the blank. You know what I'm saying? Whatever that whatever that blank is, whether it's Mormon, whether it's Greek, whether it's Muslim, whatever it is. So just be good and just be kind and do your thing, and you have the right attitude. And again, I think this is a good. Had it been 35 years ago, it would have been, you know what I mean? Like, at least we're in a much better place, much better place.
Even 10 years ago, like I came out to my best friend in high school and then we didn't talk about it for 4.5 years because we didn't know what to do about it. I went on my mission and everything. And like, I came home from my mission in like late 2012. And even in it was like May of 2013. And I told her in March of 2009. So it'd been like a little over 4 years. But then I was like, hey, can we talk about this? And nowadays, I have had probably 24 students over the past few years that have come out where it's just like a different world where it's not as stigmatized. And part of me is like, no, you're supposed to suffer through high school like I did. But it's nice that the world is opening up to being a more inclusive place. Even in what I call diehard Trump country, like my area of the suburbs is staunch in that belief. And no one has raised a hissy fit about their child's gay middle school teacher. And I have taught a lot of polygamous students. Like there's actually a polygamous commune that used to live in our school boundaries, and this past year they got shifted out. But like when they came to see the shows, like, one, we could spot the polygamous family, but two, they knew who I was the second I opened up my mouth, and we were fine.
But I think, like, you said, we're not getting political here, but like,
Yeah.
just as an example though, like diehard Trump country, like, again, it's like, it's this thing where like, well, everybody that supported Trump is that way. It's not like,
Yeah.
I listen, I live in New York City. There's a lot of that kind of thing. Like, you're left, you're right, you're this and that. It's like, oh my God. I'm like, I got my own little party. Okay. I like this, I like this thing, and I like this thing. I don't like this thing. I don't like this thing. It doesn't quite fit the one, the one thing. I mean, we got to get out of this anal retentiveness, type of thing. So that's good to know, because that debunks the myth, that everybody that voted for Donald Trump, is that way. And again, vice versa on the other side. So, of course.
Yeah. So like, I've never, like, when I first moved out here, I was like super nervous, because I was like, okay, I knew what my community was like, and I was like super nervous, and I was like, what if the kids find out? And now I'm like, to hell with it. And I just like, I skip down the hallway and I do a few sachets, and I do a few pas de berets as I walk into the office, and no one cares. So
that's no, I mean, that's good. And that's the way to go. You gotta live your life. God put you on this earth. You get to live it like everybody else.
Yep.
So now you are packing up. You are I can't believe you're driving.
I'm driving.
That's going to be you're going to get a lot from that. A lot of good stories on that.
Let's hope, because it's going to be a lot. I'm splitting it up over 4 days.
Are you by yourself or?
Yeah, because I have to fit everything that I want to fit in my car, and whatever doesn't fit, I'm selling.
Wow.
And so, because it's not worth the U-Haul. I did the price checking. I was like, I don't own $2,100 worth of stuff to put in the U-Haul. So no. So yeah, I'm driving across the country. I've started reaching out to places about possible gigs, but then if there's nothing, I'll just drive. I want to do it over 4 days, because I could get it done in 3, but that would require 12 to 15-hour days all by myself driving. But I was like,
no, don't.
I'll do 8 to 10-hour days where I drive 4 hours, take a lunch break, walk around, drive 4 hours. Like,
yeah, don't do that. Don't fatigue yourself, for sure.
No.
You're not in a rush. So you're moving to like is it Raleigh?
Raleigh, yeah, I'm moving up to Raleigh. My sister moved out there a few years ago, and I had wanted to move out there years ago for a grad school program. So before I started stand-up, I was like looking into different grad schools for theater education, and there was one in Greensboro that I was super into, and then my brother-in-law got a job out in Raleigh, so my sister and them moved out there, and I've gone to visit them a couple times, and I love it. And last time I was out there, I was able to work a weekend at Good Nights. It's a Helium out there, and they were like, yeah, when you move out here, send us your availabilities. We'd love to have you back. And I was like, cool. So I started getting into that scene. So I'm really happy and confident with the move. And when I first said Raleigh, everyone was like, Raleigh, what's out there? And then literally like everyone knows somebody out in Raleigh. And like even the next night of Dry Bar tapings, another guy was like, oh, one of the comedians in was like, I'm headlining Good Nights in October. Do you want to host my shows? And I was like, yes. So it's like suddenly everyone and their dog has a cousin in Raleigh that's helping me out. So
and as we talked about when I was there, so I live in New York City. A lot of people from this tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, are moving to North, South Carolina, and Florida. But the Carolinas, I've spoken to people in the Carolinas, and they're like, all you see is New Jersey and New York plates. So it's going to be very interesting to hear what you're going to find when you get there. But a lot of people, between the taxes, the lifestyle, all of that, it's become very popular. With my family, we go down to Hilton Head
South Carolina.
Almost every year. So as a matter of fact, there's a club on Hilton Head Island. So if you ever want to go down there, you just let me know, and I'll
Great, thank you.
But I mean, that's great. That's exciting. You're starting this entire new life, and as a comic, as a full-time comic on the East Coast, which there's lots, there's lots there. I know I know you're very versed with Utah. I guess if you had stayed, it would have really been Vegas and possibly LA. But,
within 8 hours is within 7 hours is Vegas. Within 8 hours is Denver, and those are great, but like, that's it. Whereas within 8 hours from Raleigh is 2 to 3 dozen places.
Right.
So
right. And you'll do a lot of private gigs as well, and pick up things. It's funny too, because To my New York ear, it's like you have a twang already.
Well,
which
I am like my small town. I would always say howdy to people,
uh-huh.
and in my community that I taught here, there's a lot of farmers because we're out in the suburbs, we're in the very south end of the Salt Lake Valley, that they all thought I was like making fun of them. I was like, howdy, everybody, welcome to class. And they're like, well, I was like, sorry, that's just literally my friend's horse pasture was at the end of my road. And when I would shoot hoops at my house, I would look out to see my friend's horse running across it. Like, I grew up in a small town. I said howdy all the time. We had drive your tractor to school day at my high school. Like, I get to say howdy, but everyone thinks, and I sometimes talk like I'm a Southern belle to some of my students. And they think that's funny. So I guess maybe it's coming out sometimes just instinctually. But when I was out there, I didn't notice an accent from like anyone in at least where I was in North Carolina. I think because probably people from out of state have kind of just like come in and just like
taken over.
yeah, that like I would need to go out to like the boonies to go meet the people who talk like they're from North Carolina.
And what's going to also be nice, because Salt Lake, Utah is landlocked for the most part. You're going to be by a coastline, so you're going to get to experience beach life. Like I said, Hilton Head is gorgeous. It's a little more family oriented, but there's Myrtle Beach, there's a Virginia Beach, there's a ton that you'll be able to go experience.
I've been out to Wilmington before.
Wilmington, yeah, beautiful. And maybe you'll come up to the Jersey Shore, you know, and the Hamptons, and Cape Cod. We've got a lot up and down the eastern seaboard. You can go down to Florida. God knows there's a lot of beaches there. I mean, I'm really excited for you, and I can't wait to see what you're going to.
Yeah, thank you.
You're going to be doing. What about like acting and being that you're theater? Written, things, stories, one-man shows, anything of that nature?
No, what we do with my advanced students is we write a play every semester and they perform it, but it's like I let them write it and then like I guide them through it. So like I'm constantly in the writing mindset. I'm not writing, especially once I started stand-up, I stopped doing like my independent writing because I wrote some plays, one acts and stuff like through college in my first year. I was like, oh, this is a fun idea, and I would write stuff down. But since I started stand-up, that's kind of fulfilling my creative writing need, because I needed to write something that I just haven't had the time or energy to like sit down and invest into writing something else. I've always wanted to be like a published author. And so like our musical that closes tonight, I love writing the director's notes because I write these cute little notes summarizing the show and the experience and the journey and what I hope they take away, because I really like writing, but I haven't been able to write like just something besides stand up for a couple years. So hopefully with some free time, I can start jumping into that. I did a few stage plays over the years. Just as a drama teacher, you're so busy putting on your own shows that whenever I would do a show, it had to be like a bucket list show, or like, hey, I'm working with some people that I love, because it stops being fun when it's your day job to direct shows. And then like for my hobby, it's like, I'm getting directed. And then I go, well, I would direct this scene differently. And so like, it's just, it stopped being as fun when it was my day job. So hopefully over the next few years, I'm like, I miss the theater or performing, or like besides stand-up, that I can like find other avenues to act. And I would love to do more acting stuff, but it's just hard when 40 hours a week I'm teaching, and then after school rehearsals every day with shows. It's just hard to find the motivation and willpower to do my own independent acting things.
Well, but I mean, there's so much, I see it for you. I mean, there's so much theater, also regional theater, that you're going to be moving to, that, who knows where it's going to lead you, because now you'll be a full-time artist. You might have remembered from my act, but we didn't talk about it extensively, but I was in finance. I worked in Wall Street.
Yeah, I love that you have derivative jokes. Not many comics can pull that topic off.
Yeah, ask Chappelle if he's got a put option joke. I don't think so. But he just has a much better career than I do. But I know you have to run. But I love that. I love that you are going to fulfill the dream, because I did the same thing 12, 13 years ago, 13 years now it's been. I had quit and went to pursue it. And it's, it's challenging. And I live in New York. It's a much more expensive place. Thank God, I would say, thank God I do have a husband. So that definitely cushioned the blow a little bit. But, even still, I like to make my own money. But but you already, like, I came from such a different world, the business world, where you're already immersed in theater and the arts, so as a supplement, or not even just a supplement, I mean, even just to do it, like I said, regional theater, like now you will have all this time to do that. So like you just finished talking about work. Yeah, of course, who's going to work 40 hours and then you're going to, oh sure, I'm going to write a book. I mean, it's just doesn't happen. So, but anyway, I thank you so much for popping.
Thank you for having me.
I know you got to go. I'm very blessed to have met you. You're really likewise. A great talent. I cannot wait to see what you're doing. Give everybody your social media, website, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So on Facebook, I have a Facebook page called Ryan Erwin Comedy. And then Instagram, it's at Ry Erwin, so RYERWIN. And then my Twitter, that I don't use a lot because I'm bad at Twitter, is just at Ryan Erwin Comedy. I realized, I was like, you don't have to do all the apps to be successful. Right. But if for some reason you're like, I only do Twitter, and you want to follow me tweet once every 3 weeks and have it get no likes, you can go there. I'm a little more active on Instagram than anywhere else. So yeah. And your website will have your schedule so people can find you. Yeah. I agree with you. Twitter to me is, I have it as well, and it's all on my Twitter and Instagram at Greek Chick Comic. I just do Instagram and then I post to everything. Twitter to me seems like more like a news feed. So it's not my favorite. Yeah, it's not my favorite either. And so that's great. My name is Ellen Karis. I am on Facebook also, Ellen Karis Greek Comedy. My website, ellenkaris.com, where you can find this podcast and all of the other ones that we have done once a week for 6 years, although this 2021 we started doing 2 shows a week with my solo show on Monday called Monday Thoughts. I thank our guest Ryan Erwin. We wish you the best of luck. We can't wait to what he's going to be up to. Hang on one second. I'm just going to sign off. Thank you, everybody. Until next time. Bye. Bye.